Hello and welcome to the Rugby Championship Round 6 predictions brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, and here are your games. We have the Springboks or South Africa hosting the All Blacks or New Zealand, and we have the Pumas or Argentina hosting the Wallabies or Australia. So how do I see this round going? Well, we've already seen the New Zealand or the All Blacks bounce back and get that impressive win over the Pumas. They were definitely not going to allow themselves to lose two games back to back. And I think we're going to see a similar kind of backlash against the Springboks again in this one. They're not going to want to have lost to South Africa twice on the trot in the same year. And so even though the Springboks did put in that good victory over Australia and never really looked like losing that one, going to say that coming up against that New Zealand is going to be much more difficult. Sure, New Zealand do have to find a way to counter that rush defence. How many tackles can South Africa actually make in a rugby championship? That's something I've been asked, and that's something I will go away and try and find the stats for, because they have been putting in some massive shifts in that especially in that win over New Zealand and also that win over Australia. Back-to-back wins is obviously massive for the Springboks and would be great for their belief. But I think there is a good reason why the All Blacks are number one in the world. There's a good reason why they are over the past 8 years have generally only lost one game a season. I think last year they sort of drew one and lost two, which was one of their worst seasons for a very long time. So I can't see that happening again here, and hence I'm backing the All Blacks by 10. After that, we have the very civilised time of 11:40 in New Zealand to watch the Pumas versus the Wallabies. Springboks one versus the All Blacks is at 4 a.m. New Zealand time, so I won't be watching that one live. That'll be my breakfast viewing. For lunchtime viewing, obviously I have Argentina versus Australia. Australia now have only won one game, which was against the Springboks at home. They lost to the Pumas at home. Argentina put in some decent performances against the All Blacks, with not getting the result. There was an interesting article on the Rugby Pass website talking about how the All Blacks game has evolved since the last Rugby World Cup, and how Australia, whilst they're trying to copy that, just don't have the component parts to make it kind of work. And they're just not clicking. I'm not convinced with Curtly Beale at 10. I think he runs sideways way too much for that position, which removes a lot of space for all the other players. And they're not running off him particularly well. I think also Genia's lack of a box kick was a real problem for Australia in that first half against South Africa. Their ability to exit their own 22 was really, really poor. So with all those things in mind, I'm backing the Pumas to win by 5. I don't think it will be a total walkover or anything, but I think this is going to be the most successful Pumas rugby championship ever. Clearly, the players want to pay for Mario Ledesma. They didn't want to play for the previous coaching setup. And it's sad when you see that players going to that kind of extent to get rid of a coaching setup where they really are unhappy. They have to do that. You'd hope that the powers that be would be able to notice that kind of thing, but there are still old boy networks around the world in some administrative situations. Now, Ledesma, they definitely want to play for, and has done a very good job there, and it's going to be exciting to see how they go over the next sort of 12 to 14 months as we run into the next Rugby World Cup. As I say, backing. So for me, it's New Zealand by 10, Argentina by 5. How do you see the final round of the Rugby Championship going? Let me know, and do enjoy whatever rugby you're watching this weekend.